Brought to you by GTA, your island, your network.
David Sablon says he no longer represents the company, GRRP, but he still supports incineration, or waste to energy, as an important part of an integrated solid waste plant, especially for an island with limited land.
We have an agreement with the government. GRP will take care of the waste. You bring it, we'll burn it, and we will produce electricity. That's GRP's side. The government just brings the solid waste to the facility.
Sounds simple, but over the years, the critics have said incineration and the power created would be too costly. Guam doesn't produce enough waste to make it economically viable, and incinerators produce hazardous emissions.
That is not true at all. There are 142 incinerators operating in the United States. I just came back from Japan last week. There is incineration throughout that country because they're an island country. And as a result, land is very precious.
He says that would be one of the major benefits to Guam as well.
It lessens the amount of land that you need every 8 or 10 years for another landfill cell, because you would be transferring ash rather than solid waste. And ash effectively is 10% the volume of the solid waste that goes into the incinerator. So
he says the company's analysis has convinced them there is more than enough solid waste to make incineration viable. And as for the cost?
It is much cheaper to operate a solid waste plant in connection with a landfill than it is for a landfill alone.
Sablon says as for the environmental concerns, incinerators must meet stringent EPA requirements, and any emissions would have to be safe. But he'll have to convince the governor of that in a recent news conference announcing that GovGuam will soon regain control of the solid waste system. She was asked about her take on incineration.
I am not going to allow incineration as long as I am the governor of Guam. I would rather divert my resources, my energy and efforts into recycling and organic ways of reducing waste. Incineration creates byproducts of very toxic material that does not at all go away. Dioxin is one of them, and if it gets into our waters and so forth, it is a chemical, very hazardous chemical that is very dangerous and very toxic to the people of Guam.
GRRP sued the government for $20 million to force it to uphold the contract. Sablon says the court ordered the parties into arbitration 2 years ago, and the company is waiting on legislation that explicitly exempts it from the law banning incineration.
If that isn't done, then this lawsuit would go forward and it would go to trial.
A hearing in Superior Court that could determine that next step is set for May 6th. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Brought to you by GTA, your island, your network.